Welcome back, my guildlings. Cole Spire here to show you around the Mushroom Kingdom and espouse my knowledge to you about all that is geek culture. It's been a weird week for us geeks, nerds, gamers, D&Ders, and all-around outsiders of our world. I mean, black is white, in is out, up is down, cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria. I understand I mixed two movies together in that last little bit, forgive me, it just sounded good. So what should I start off with today? I mean, there's so much to choose from. But I guess I'll start with the most asinine thing I have heard in a while. And it comes from the Huffington Post, of all places. Nintendo, because of National Women's Day, decided to show off their equality chops and do a massive campaign that was a play on the Rosie the Riveter posters back in the day. They're nice posters of some very iconic women in games. But Alexis Kleinman of the Huffington Post's tech section doesn't believe so. The headline of her article reads, "Nintendo's strong females are everything wrong with video games." That's right, Miss Kleinman believes that some of the choices made by Nintendo are downright awful and couldn't possibly represent a strong female character, because we've never heard of these characters, and on top of that, they are just the quote-unquote Ms. Male characters that Anita Sarkeesian has talked about in her Tropes vs. Women series, end quote. Now, I'm going to read another direct quote from this article just to show you how the stupidity of this SJW type of narrative can be. Be prepared to be shocked at the unknown choices Nintendo made for their posters. I haven't heard of many of these, and I'm sure most of you haven't either, so I'm going to get right down to it. Now remember, this is a direct quote from Ms. Kleinman's article. Here's the full list of female characters that Nintendo intends on celebrating for Women's History Month. Tetra from The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker HD, Toadette from the Mario series, Bayonetta from Bayonetta, Rosalina from the Mario series, Lucina from Fire Emblem, Samus Aran from Metroid, and Bombette from Paper Mario. Have you heard of any of these characters? Didn't think so. Excuse me? Baking powder? Samus Aran, Bayonetta, Tetra, Toadette, and Rosalina are by far some of the most well-known women in games. Hell, Samus is one of the main women in games that we gamers have been shouting about ever since Sarkeesian said there are no strong women in games. The reveal that Samus Aran, the badass bounty hunter you had been playing, killing aliens and exploring an unknown planet, the whole game was a woman, was the first mindfuck my darling little psyche ever experienced. And like me, most young men who found this out didn't think twice about picking up the controller again and playing the game through one more time to see the reveal again just to make sure. The respect that Samus Aran derives from gamers, both male and female, is warranted and extremely high. And then we get to another unknown name, Bayonetta. Have you heard of her? I know I haven't. This unknown character has only starred in 2 blockbuster hit games and has a huge following that rivals Samus or even Princess Peach. She is in control of her sexuality and fights demons and angels with 4 guns. Not 2, 4. 1 in each hand and 1 on each foot. How much more of a badass could she possibly be? Let me tell you how much more. She has the magical powers that allow her to utterly decimate her opponents by throwing them into a conjured Iron Maiden or a guillotine. The game she is in is fun, lighthearted, and a blast to play. But as gamers, I don't have to convince you. You already know. I don't want to draw attention away from Rosalina or Tetra or even Toadette and Bombette either. These 4 women are not just palette-swapped heroines. These women took charge in most of their games and definitely deserve the recognition they get. The only one I personally am not familiar with is Lucina from Fire Emblem, and that is because I've never played that Fire Emblem. I played Path of Radiance on the GameCube, but that was about it. And Path of Radiance was amazing. So, what this shows is Nintendo chose wisely in their selection of powerful and confident women in the video game world. They are industry staples that have crossed generations and platforms. Hell, Samus Aran is in every single Smash Brothers game. She's had 17 or so games built upon her, but no, we've never heard of her. I have to thank Huffington Post's text section for really having its ear to the grindstone when it comes to the downtrodden in the video game industry. Alexis Kleinman certainly gets my vote for most oblivious columnist, with an honorable mention in the never even played a game before categories. Now, moving on to the next universe, we head on over to DC Comics, where Batgirl seems to be in the psychotic hands of the Joker during their Joker Appreciation Variant Cover Month. It's a mouthful. What could possibly go wrong here? The image is amazing and gives the viewer the right amount of information about the Joker, and gives the right type of emotion I know I would be feeling if the Joker was ever that close to me. This was a variant cover, mind you, for Batgirl 41, and not the normal cover that most people could easily go and pick up. It's for collectors. The image in question shows Batgirl looking petrified, with a tear coming from her right eye, with a bloodied smile that has been wiped over her mouth by the Joker, who is standing right behind her with a sadistic grin and his arm draped over Batgirl's shoulder holding a gun. This image, this piece of artwork, is an homage to The Killing Joke, which was one of the best and darkest story arcs in the Batman universe. A lot of people are a fan of it. In that story, Joker shot Batgirl and paralyzed her. He beat her and then left her to die. Then he went off to kill Jason Todd, who was, at the time, Robin. What could possibly be wrong with this variant cover? According to SJWs and feminists everywhere, everything is wrong with this cover. It is portraying Batgirl as turning her from the strong female character they had created in the New 52 comics into a quote-unquote woman in a refrigerator once again, and setting females back in comics 50 years. Not only that, but it's a portrayal of rape and turning Batgirl into an object instead of human. These are fictional characters. Say it with me, feminists. And SJWs, you can join in too. Fictional characters. Is this getting through to you? Raphael Albuquerque, the artist of said picture, was asked to do this by DC. And when the image was released on the 25th of March, the internet exploded about it. Not so much about how this was an amazing cover and how it really is an amazing homage to The Killing Joke. Not that they exploded on DC to pull the cover from the shelves. A hashtag movement came up on Twitter and Tumblr called #ChangeTheCover. Raphael went on to say, "My Batgirl variant cover artwork was designed to pay homage to a comic that I really admire, and I know is a favorite of many readers. The Killing Joke is part of Batgirl's canon, and artistically I could not avoid portraying the traumatic relationship between Barbara Gordon and the Joker." That's very reasonable, and I agree with him 100%. And DC agreed with him as well, because DC went to pull the cover and responded to the outcry with this: "We publish comic books about the greatest heroes in the world and the most evil villains imaginable. The Joker variant covers are for June are in recognition of the 75th anniversary of the Joker. Regardless if fans like Raphael Albuquerque's homage to Alan Moore's The Killing Joke graphic novel from 25 years ago, or find it inconsistent with the current tonality of the Batgirl books, threats of violence and harassment are wrong and have no place in comics or society. We stand by our creative talent, and per Raphael's request, DC Comics will not publish the Batgirl variant. That's right, you heard that correctly. Threats of violence and harassment are wrong and have no place in comics or society. DC, my man, my boy, you have garnered a ton of respect from me for doing this. I mean, I cannot say enough about how much you're standing up for your artist and your product. And the fact that you pulled the cover only because the artist asked shows more respect for the artist and his safety than anything else. But the artist did ask to have DC pull the cover. And I explained why just a little bit ago. He was threatened on his personal site as well as his Twitter by SJWs and feminists. They threatened him and his family. So he did the only reasonable thing and told DC to pull it. These people are bullies, plain and simple. They want to censor artwork that they don't like, and that is it. Stop liking what I don't like should be their battle cry. This is happening in games media, on television, and all over film. Don't get me started about how men are portrayed as stupid, Neanderthalic morons, and women are always bright, intelligent, and always have it together. I'm not saying it needs to be one way or the other. Men have to be that way, and women have to be slavering fools. No, make it equal. That's all we're asking for. Comics are considered an art form, and as such should not be censored. The cover is a masterpiece. If I'm smart, I have it posted right now for you to look at. It is open for interpretation, and DC and this artist have been bullied by people who are not even their audience. This wasn't the actual cover for Batgirl 41. This was a variant, a comic cover for collectors. You had to actively look for this cover, and most times variant covers have nothing to do with the actual comic that it's the variant of. You didn't have to buy this cover, is what I'm saying. And now, this is just something else SJWs and feminists have ruined. It's ridiculous. This is artwork. Movies are artwork. Television is artwork. Alright? It tells a story just by looking at it. When I first saw it, I knew exactly what the artist was trying to portray. Alright? Barbara Gordon is petrified of the Joker. Why? He paralyzed her and killed one of her best friends. All to get at her mentor, Bruce Wayne. Now, does that take away from what she's become? No, because she pulled herself up from being paralyzed to become the Oracle and help Bruce, aka Batman, to do some amazing things. On top of that, she was able to heal herself and get back to being Batgirl. That's nothing to sneeze at. That's not a woman in a refrigerator. That's something amazing that this story arc produced. And what do we have? We have fucking SJWs screwing it up. All this was an homage to an amazing story arc that was an impact in every comic book reader's mind. Alright? It's just annoying as shit that this stuff happens. Alright, now, this next story isn't anything to do with crazy journalists who really have no idea what they're talking about, or patriarchy spouting feminists. No, this is about a cheater, and a professional at that. Not a professional cheater, but a professional at what he does. James Fazzolari, a professional Magic the Gathering player that worked for the site channelfireball.com, was caught cheating at the recent Grand Prix. Now, this is a card game, and cheating is not unthinkable, but when the cheater in question is a professional player and makes a living on playing this card game, this does come as a surprise and a good bit of news for that community, which, if you're part of the Magic community, that's the community it's for. He was disqualified on day 1 of a 2-day tournament for unsporting conduct, cheating. In the past, this particular infraction would have been described as manipulation of game materials. Now, what he did is he put a card on his lap. And at the right moment, the card on his lap would somehow miraculously end up on the field, which would cause him to win the game. As soon as the news hit, Channel Fireball released a public statement distancing themselves from James. I ended up getting into a hefty debate about this on Facebook in the comments section, and I want people to understand that this is just my opinion. I am giving you my opinion on what I believe needs to happen with cheaters and why things like this happen. James Fazzolari was a pro player who hosted a column for Channel Fireball. He gave advice and was looked up to. He had fans and responsibilities. Yet he cheated. Not only did he cheat, but he got caught cheating. This is one of the worst things he could have done for his career. This brings all of his past wins into question, because the leap from him cheating once, which it wasn't just once, I'll explain that in a second, to him cheating before is a very real thing. Think of it like this. Say he was a professional, he was a professional player in a sport like baseball. And in baseball, he used a physical enhancement that always guaranteed him a win or the best ERA. Now, he gets caught using this enhancement and is not only thrown out of the game, but thrown off said baseball team. As a fan of baseball, wouldn't you question all of those other wins and all his other great deeds? Of course you would. Why? Because if he was willing to do all of this just to keep up with the pressure of being a pro, what else would he do? Or what else has he done, for that matter? Now, how he got caught is very simple. Like I said, he put a card on his lap. The name of the card was Whisperwood Elemental. You can look it up if you want. Magic players who play Standard know exactly what the card is. He hid it on his lap. In one game, his opponent, who took a judge's side afterwards and told him what happened. That judge then took it upon himself to focus on James Fazzolari's next game, and in turn caught him doing exactly as the other player had said. Putting the card on his lap, bringing it from his lap, and putting it onto the field. Now, the example I gave for the baseball thing has already happened. Not the enhancements, like not a physical enhancement like a bionic arm or a bionic eye or something cool like that, but steroids. There are players that are in the Baseball Hall of Fame or the home run record books that have an asterisk next to their name because there were accusations of steroid abuse. Cheating is never looked on greatly. Cheating is cheating no matter how you look at it. Now, James still has friends that stand by him. I know because they quickly came to his defense and tried to call me out for attacking him and kicking when he was down. But yours truly persevered and countered with the ever-present logic and facts. I know that if a friend of mine was caught cheating on this scale, and this was my livelihood, and pushed me into the same light as him because I was still friends with him and stood behind him, it would be seen as me agreeing with what he had done. I stand by my friend even though he cheated. well, that kind of means you think cheating is okay because you don't have an issue with it. That's not how this goes. Now, WotC, or Wizard of the Coast, and CFB, Channel Fireball, did what needed to be done, and the matter has been settled. And I'm perfectly happy with how things panned out. I hope James gets his shit together and is able to bounce back from this. The problem is I don't think he can. For the rest of his life and his Magic career, he is going to be known as a cheater. People who play against him are going to know the name, and they're going to watch him like a hawk, whether he's doing something right or doing something wrong. If he misplays once, he's going to have a judge called on him instantly for cheating. He did this to himself, and the fact that people are defending him because he was trying to keep up is bullshit. This is an issue that the Magic community does not like or tolerate. So I'm glad something was done, and I know so many other players are happy with the outcome as well. Now on to other news that should brighten your day if you are a pro gamergator, and brighten your day if you're a reasoning, logical person altogether. Leigh Alexander is second-guessing her decision to leave Kotaku and has taken to begging her followers on Twitter for money. I'd like to say I'm surprised, but I'd be lying. This is the woman who screamed at GGers that she was games journalism. Not anymore, toots. Not only is Offworld barely making a blip on the radar of internet news, but it's below the top almost 400,000 websites globally and isn't even in the top 400,000 in the US. Is this time to rejoice? Should we be dancing in the streets? This was a major, major head of the anti-Gamergate movement. So what do? Dance in the streets? Shoot guns into the air? Probably. This woman let her ego dictate something that her writing skills couldn't follow through with. She believed she was the best journalist in media today and set off on her own whirlwind adventure with the backing of Boing Boing, only to die within the first few steps of her journey. I have a strong feeling that Miss Games Journalism is going to be begging Kotaku for her job back shortly. An old co-worker of Alexander's has come forward, putting the journalist on blast about how awful of an employee she was, calling her a feminist grenade, and going so far as calling her poison for any company she works for. Fortunately for us, we knew this already. She let the term feminist grenade go because she was one of the people that, no matter what the conversation they were having was, it would always turn out to be gender-based ethics. It could be anything from the next dolphin show at SeaWorld. It would turn into a gender debate. So a lot of people stopped talking to her. They didn't like her being at parties. Oh, and sometimes they would stop the party early so they could force Leigh Alexander's drunk ass out so they could go to a party at a different place because no one wanted to deal with her. So recently, Leigh Alexander has tweeted out a few gems, like sharing articles and spreading the conversation to your friends who aren't necessarily gamers will help Offworld achieve its dreams. And if everyone who followed me spent $1 on my work today, I could pay my debts and still have enough left to feel fully appreciated. It almost makes you sigh, doesn't it? It almost makes you feel sorry for this woman. And then you realize that on top of all this, she's pimping out her Patreon for people to donate to her booze-infested lifestyle. Leigh Alexander is a parasite, and not a very good one either. She poisoned her host to the point that the toxins were too much, and the host body Kotaku sundered her off with a heated knife. I know this won't be the last we hear from Leigh, but I can guarantee she has learned not to bite the hand that feeds her. And, I mean, this is amazing news for us. And I wish her all the best. I really do. I don't want anything physically to happen to her. I hope she bounces back, and I hope she's learned her lesson. Because she needs to. If she doesn't, well, this is just going to repeat. And it's going to be this all over again. She's going to write checks her mouth's going to write checks her ass can't cash. And eventually people are just going to stop dealing with her, and she's going to fade away. Well, that is it for me, my guildlings. This episode started off with a bang and ended with some damn bloody satisfaction. Stupid tech writers, screeching non-comic fans, cheaters, and a thief getting what she deserves. Can't go wrong with that. This wonderful world of geek culture makes me wonder, is it better to live a monster or die as a good man? Have a good night, everybody.